Imagine you're a tenant, a lot of you probably are, and imagine you're in a dispute with a landlord. Then, one night, there's a knock at the door. It seems to be the police, and they're apparently working for your landlord. Unimaginable, right? Well, not really. S&K Property Management are a London-based enforcement agency. That means bailiffs to normal people like you and me. Amongst other things, they're tasked with evicting tenants. Now, bailiffs are not legally allowed to enter your home without your permission. But Novara Media can reveal that S&K agents seem to be going to extraordinary lengths to get that permission, including dressing up like police officers. On the evening of 10th of February, Daniela Gergen-Choi was surprised to find what she thought were police officers at her door. As this image from their website shows, they wore stab-proof vests, uniforms, radios, and body cams. They looked like a private militia. And they drove white vans covered in official warnings and fluorescent police-style trim. Now, despite their trappings, these men were private bailiffs. Novara reports this. Their firm, S&K Property Enforcement, had come on behalf of their landlord to remove single mother, Gergen-Choi, and her 5 children, telling her they were trespassing, even though she was the legal tenant of the property. I was at work and only my kids were at home. They said these people were there and who had put their leg in the door and tried to force their way in, she told Novara Media. I said they should wait until I get home, but they said it was fine as my oldest son was there, but he doesn't speak good English. After hurrying back from work, she says she was told by officers from S&K that she had to vacate the property. The attempted eviction wasn't legal, but it was only after a tense 2-hour standoff that the bailiffs left. John Luke Bolton is a caseworker with Safer Renting, who sent a team to help Daniela deal with the bailiffs. He told Novara this. Even our team found it hard to tell the difference. They were dressed up in an outfit that completely resembled a police officer's uniform. If you're dressing up to look like a police officer, which they clearly are, they're going the whole way by saying you are a police officer, and people don't have an understanding of how evictions work, well, you can imagine many scenarios when people would just leave. It's an intimidation tactic, both because the police are quite a frightening institution and because it's trying to trick people. But the cases I've been involved in, where S&K came along, it's been tenants of the property that were there lawfully, and the chances are they would have been evicted if we didn't get involved. Now, Daniela's wasn't the only case where S&K agents turned up resembling police officers. George, a pseudonym, withheld rent from his landlord after years of being housed in unsanitary and frankly disgusting conditions. Novara Media reports this. The rotating cast of problems has been never-ending for George, who gave a pseudonym to avoid repercussions over the last 2 years. His landlord regularly failed to fix broken windows or shoddy plumbing. Massive cracks even began appearing in the walls. A locked upstairs room in the house he shared with several other tenants had a dead pigeon and its nest in a sink, rotting inside it for 2 years that was never cleaned up, as the stench spread through the house. The property was on an electricity prepayment meter, he said, and the cost was supposed to be included in the rent. However, George and his wife and his 2-year-old daughter had to navigate weekly power cuts as property managers routinely topped it up with too little money. Often lasting 10 hours at a time, the cuts and constant darkness badly impacted his health and worsened his wife's depression. Soon after, he began withholding the rent. Then S&K turned up. The article continues. The landlord sent me this bailiff. He told me I can write off all your debt, but you need to leave the house, or we go to the court, George said. But he said if we go to court, I'd be blacklisted. They look like the police, he said. Eventually, George chose the option of court, smart man, and rejected the offer put by S&K. He said he's still waiting for S&K to file paperwork in court. When asked if he thought S&K were trying to intimidate him, he said, of course they were. Now, S&K isn't shy about revealing the police-adjacent uniforms of its agents. This image is from their own website. It shows their canine unit, which the company describes like this. Dog handlers provide the most effective level of canine security protection with a roving, visible presence, constant vigilance, and ultimate psychological deterrent. Here's another from their website. At first glance, you have to ask yourself, do these look like private bailiffs to you? Let's end with this video from their own TikTok account.
don't mess with the best.
Ash, this story is just jaw-dropping, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's horrifying. Those guys are clearly dressed up like police officers. I know that there is a veil of plausible deniability. They don't identify themselves as police officers, but they have all the trappings, all the colorings, and even the canine accessories, so that for the untrained eye and even the trained eye, because we make our judgments based on, split second impressions, you would think that you would be in danger of being arrested and put in jail if you stand up for yourself, if you stand up for your rights, if you don't immediately comply. So I would think that there should at least be a criminal investigation here for impersonation of a police officer, because even if you don't say it, if you're dressing up your vans like that, you're dressing up in stab-proof vests, you're wearing the boots, you've got body cams on. What else are you doing? What else are you doing? Sadly, however, S&K or whatever they're called can probably be quite confident that there won't be a criminal investigation, and simply that's because there is a total lack of enforcement when it comes to eviction and bad landlord issues. Even though 1 in 10 tenants report having been the victims of illegal behavior by their landlord. That's not even counting those who have been the subject of illegal behavior by bailiffs. The police have only pursued, I believe it was 2 cases of illegal behaviour. So you can be fairly confident that if you want to be a nasty bastard, if what you want to do is, flagrantly breach your contract, if you want to keep extracting money, if you want to be able to pick on and immiserate some of the most vulnerable people in our society, become a landlord, because no one is going to come looking for you. You can be fairly safe that the cops aren't going to step in. And you know what? Even if you get taken to court and you lose a small sum of money, you can always just rent out another property and do it all over again.
This is just such an extraordinary story to me, and it just shows how little politicians and the police do not care if you're a renter. You basically aren't, it's quite obvious to me, you're not treated like most people under the law, certainly not like a middle-class homeowner. These guys are going around London, possibly other places too. I think they're impersonating police officers. I don't know the technical legal details of that, but that would be a logical inference to me. But more than that, they resemble a private militia. I mean, I don't know the law around that either, but groups of people going around making threats, there's a term for that in the law. It's called violent disorder. It's not legal. And I really do have to question the legality of this, and I hope something happens with it. But like you said, Ash, I mean, it's just not that high on the radar of politicians. You can read more about that piece over at novaramedia.com. It's such an interesting story. I found it gripping for all the wrong reasons. The link to the article is in the YouTube description box below.